you're on the ground now here in the First Coast. You've hired a women's coach. You've inherited an academy setup, obviously from Florida Elite, which is a top academy locally. Tell us how you kind of look to integrate those academies with your first team plans. Obviously, you've done this before with Brentford and QPR, among others. So walk us through that process.
No, really, it's obviously the Florida Elite and the work being done by Sean and his staff. It's a huge academy, huge number of players. And obviously, every single child must be given the same level of care and attention to make sure they enjoy their soccer. That's the key point. The truth of the actual professional game is that we're looking at the top elite kids to come through that, boys and girls, who have a passion to go on to the higher levels, and we see have the potential to go on the higher levels. So, whilst the main bulk of numbers will carry on as normal, enjoying their football, etc., enjoying their soccer, the link comes really from that integration of a pro academy, an academy director overseeing it, reporting in, and understanding the curriculums of work they need to give them the best opportunity to realise that the potential and to realise their dreams as well, of course.
James, I'm going to ask one more question and I'm going to throw it back to you. So you've obviously had a lot of experience building and dealing with youth and integrating youth. I remember at Brentford, you really kind of built that thing when they were in League One, helped get them to the championship, and then obviously we now see where they are. One of the remarkable clubs in world football in terms of their scouting, in terms of their analytics, in terms of even the way they do diet and fitness, and similar things in other places. Having that experience, how do you implement those sorts of processes day one from a club you're basically building from the ground up, a brand new club?
Yeah, we are. It's about firm foundations. People look at I get asked questions like, how are the first team going to do? Are they going to win? Are the ladies going to do well? And of course, that's what everyone wants. But the important point is to build firm foundations. So in terms of the quality of staff that you recruit, who in turn go on to build a roster that the fans can enjoy and be proud of, making sure that the curriculums of work, the programs of work for the children, it's all about making sure we have that elite environment. Making sure it's an environment that's conducive to learning and development, and of course success going forward. But if I have to emphasize one thing, it's firm foundations, clear values, clear beliefs, and everyone on board pointing in the same direction. It sounds very old-fashioned, but it's so important to get it right.
James?
Well, I wanted to take you in a little bit of the direction there of then what types of players and coaches you are trying to bring in. I'm assuming as the sporting director, you will have ultimate say on at least the coaching side, and then allow them to pick some of the players that they are looking at amongst a group of players that you might be scouting all together. But I wanted to know what kind of player and coach you were generally looking to bring in, whether it's an attitude, whether it's a style, whether it's something, a mix of both or some other thing as well, something that you want to develop as an ethos for this new team in Jacksonville, this new club in Jacksonville.
Yeah, obviously, from the football perspective, the soccer perspective, are they good enough for players? That's the obvious one. Do they have the quality or the development potential to be good enough to impact Sporting Jacks? The character is equally as important for us. It's a new club, it's a new franchise, it's one we want the city and the fans to be proud of. And it's making sure that we recruit players and staff, of course, who understand the responsibility that comes with that role. It's understanding that they can add value above and beyond the normal. I will receive 500, 1,000 player CVs come in. The fact is, it's finding those players who have the quality, have the ability, have the potential, but have that strength of character and quality of character to really make a positive impact for the club, the community, and all the fan base. So that's the key for me. Whatever position we look to hire, if I look to hire, for example, a goalkeeping coach, I'll get a clutch of CVs come straight in from so many people, so many qualifications, so much experience. But the fact is, where's the added value? Who has value above and beyond the normal job specification? And that really is the key for me. It's always been the key in terms of Your colleague mentioned, Kartik mentioned Brentford. I hired 6 guys there, 5 of whom are still there 15 years later, because again, they added value above and beyond the job spec. So that will always be my remit, and looking for those special people who understand it, have a work ethic, have a desire to improve, want responsibility and in turn accountability, and really embrace the project, which is fantastic for them as people, but for the team, for the club, for the city, and for the fan base, of course.
Gotcha. And with that being said, I guess my next question for you was effectively, why Jacksonville? You probably had many options considering your background as a prior sporting director, as well as a coach at many different clubs, many different, an assistant coach, as well as the head man in charge as well. So, why Jacksonville? Was this a clean slate that you saw that you had a chance? I know that you had a little bit of a background in the United States, but I wanted to know exactly what brought you, or what gave you an idea that this was the ideal role.
In truth, I've been speaking to Steve Livingston. Huge credit to Steve. He spoke to me and kept continually speaking. And it was, as the conversation progressed, the idea really expanded. The potential of the project was becoming clearer and clearer. I was very privileged to be an academy director, a technical director, and a first-team manager, head coach. So this project allows me to use all of the experience across those 3 sectors. It's about developing elite youth players. It's about giving to the community. It's about putting the structures and processes in place. And I'm very privileged, as I say, to have worked in some high-level clubs. And the word privilege is key. I think if you work in professional sport, professional soccer, the world's biggest game, then you are very privileged. And the more Steve spoke, the more he sold the project, the more I could see that potential. So it really is an exciting one. It is a chance to be at the start of what we hope will be a long journey, what we hope will be the start of a club that develops over decades for Jacksonville. And if you can play a small part in the beginning of all of that, then you should be very privileged indeed.
Yes, that's fair. My last question, and then I'll turn it back over to Kartik, is just based off of, the why Jacksonville. My next question is, I guess, how with Jacksonville, because it's going to be a team that plays in the USL leagues, and that'll be the USL Super League on the women's side, and I believe the USL Championship on the men's side. Right now, the championship is considered a second division, but the USL is trying to institute a top division league at some point where they will have promotion and relegation. And then the Super League itself is currently considered top division, but alongside the NWSL. So it's a bit of a complicated landscape in the United States, obviously. So how do you go about making your club specifically the attraction in Jacksonville that will bring people out to games?
Well, the point is, it's the first time we've had professional women's soccer here in Jacksonville. So it's a chance for them to get, the club that you mentioned, Florida Elite, with their 10,000 members. How many young girls, for example, aspire to be professionals and want to go as far as they can and love the game? And they train 2-3 times a week. They play at weekends. Their parents, tour them everywhere, etc., for enjoying their sport. And the idea that there's now a professional team, both men and women, at the end of that journey is so key. That's why the fans come out. Our job, our responsibility is to build a team to play in a style that brings success, of course, but play in a manner that the fans can really enjoy and get behind. So I think for me, the aspirational side for the young girl players, this is the first time. It really is. They said on the introduction of making history, and they're right. This is the women's professional game coming here. The men follow very quickly behind in January 26th. And it's a chance for all soccer fans in Jacksonville. And I think Steve mentioned the figure near 400,000 soccer fans in the area. That's a huge number. And now we have professional sport here, and our job is to excite them, make sure they enjoy it, deliver a club that they're proud of, one that they can follow, hopefully for a long, long time to come. And, I come from the UK where you have generational supporters of clubs, granddad, father, granddad, great-granddad, etc., have always supported the club. And wouldn't it not be nice to see in decades' time we have the same sort of following here in Jacksonville? So you have to set high, lofty targets, but that aspirational aspect for the young girl players and women and young boy players, I think, is hugely important.
Gotcha. And Kartik, I'll turn it back over.
Yeah, I just have a few more questions. First off, how do you balance the considerations of being a technical director or a sporting director, or director of soccer, whatever the title is. It's all sort of the same role. With maybe the considerations of your head coach. You've been in both roles. Obviously, in your last head coaching job at QPR, you had a technical director in Les Ferdinand who had a different view of things, than maybe you had, and then the subsequent coaches had after you. That's the reason why they've struggled so much. Little editorial commentary from me, but, you have to look out for the long-term vision of the club, right? And that includes the 10,000 kids, as you mentioned, in Florida lead, and integrating them into kind of this club as a whole. How do you balance that against maybe the short-term considerations? As you talked about, a lot of excitement locally as this club launches, short-term considerations to win immediately in the USL Super League and the USL Championship versus a long-term build-out and a sustainable club. How do you balance those two things?
It's just about that. That's the job, basically, Kartik. I mean, you have to build firm foundations, as we spoke about earlier in the previous questions. We have to make sure we have clear philosophy, clear values. We demonstrate that in everything that we do, internally for the club and for the community, of course. In terms of your question about the coach, yes, I have been there, and my job is to give back the coach and her staff the very best chance of success. That's my job, is to support, to help, to assist, but also they're senior people, driven people. So for me, I would never sign a player that my coach and staff don't want. If they turn around to me the simple reason is the coach has to work with these players day in, day out on the training pitch. And to be working with people that I don't really want, that are imposed upon them, is just simply inappropriate. I would never have that at my previous clubs, and no manager worth their salt would have it. So for me, it's important that the communication is so tight with all of the coaching staff, all of the football staff. What are we looking for? What do we need? Who has value? Who has the right character for the club? Who has the potential development, etc.? Getting the succession programming in place. And then, as I say, trying to secure the players who the coach wants, who she can work with or he can work with in the men, etc., for the good of the club and to develop the club. So everything comes down to communication. I will never tell the head coach what team she should play, who should play, what formation he or she should play. It's all about supporting them, being there for them, giving honest opinion, but also protecting them. Because as I say, in the professional game, you have media expectation, fan expectation, you have good days, you have bad days. And it's about me being consistent, never too high, never too low, being honest and being, as I say, consistent in my support of them and being there when needed. So I hope very much I've given you there probably a broad idea of what my role is and what needs to be done. But it's all about the long-term good of the club, but trying to hit short-term, medium and longer-term targets.
Yeah, we just two more questions. First off, do you have any specific style of football you're looking to implement, maybe from the academy level all the way up to the first team, or is that just something that will naturally happen over time?
Yeah, people say to me, I hear clubs tell me that they implemented the manager's style right the way down to the academy. Especially in the UK, I hear this. And then they change their manager twice a year or once every year. I find it quite bizarre. So for me, I've always thought that the players leaving an academy should be armed with the attributes, technically, tactically, physically, to deal with whatever demands the manager or coach may place in front of them. So in terms of the style, no, as I said to you, I won't demand a formation. I won't say this player has to play. What I will say, and what has been made clear in the interview process for the coach, and the male coach will be the same, is certain traits that show sporting Jacks. I love a speed of ball movement, an intensity to our play with and without the ball, an understanding of our job roles with and without the ball, creation of chances, players flooding into key areas, committing numbers forward. The first thought of an individual must be to play forward. If they can't play forward, I play square. And all these basic traits, but important traits, the fans can watch and see what's being done on the training field every day. But as I say, that's just me telling the coach and speaking to the coach about what I think is important for our identity. But in terms of formation players, that comes down to the coach, absolutely. And that's why we hire good people.
Last question for me. obviously, the women's side is different. So maybe we're years off from promotion and relegation, but it looks like we're a go on the men's side, starting, maybe as early as 2028. So, just walk us through, for our listeners who maybe don't know, how you build a squad with promotion or avoiding relegation in mind, because you did it at Brentford. You built a squad that got promoted and they're where they are now, I think, in my opinion, largely due to your work. So, to talk to us about that, because, this is going to be a brave new world for so many of us in this country.
Yeah, it is. I've got to say, this demands TV shows. It demands far more coverage than you and I can give today. But certainly, it's when you think that the Championship playoff final is the most lucrative game in world sport, that tells you about what's being created. You're talking about, the top two teams, for example, going up, and then the playoffs, 3rd through 6th, playing off. And you have these games home and away culminating in these finals being played in the UK, certainly at Wembley Stadium. And again, you're seeing this goes from League 2, League 1, Championship, Premier League, etc. And it generates a level of excitement, a level of passion, which is so hard to comprehend unless you're there. And it means so much. Say, for example, you have a big club who can get relegated from the Championship into League 1. A club that has, 45, 50,000 fans come to games. And then they've been relegated and the club's downbeat and the fans are upset. But the following season, they have a really good season and they're at the top and they're in the playoffs. And the excitement that's generated, the media coverage that's generated, it means so much to the supporters. It does mean that there's never worthless games. There's never a situation where you say, it's okay. And I see that a lot, for example, in certain leagues around the world where games do not matter, which for me, I think is a travesty. And I think that's, you're selling fans short who pay, good money for tickets, etc. And there's games that are worthless. I don't see how that can be. So, the playoffs, I think the fans will, as they get to know them and understand them, will absolutely embrace the idea. What I do think is with the vastness of the territory here in the US, in the UK, you'll see 50, 60, 70,000 fans travel to Wembley. They can't do it here because of the size of the country. What you'll see is a very special media coverage being developed to look after this, because it truly is unlike any other event in terms of, as I say, the passion, what's involved, everything. It creates so much for the game. And I think the English playoffs are the envy of the world in terms of soccer. And if we can recreate anything like that here in the USL, I think it's fantastic news for the game long term, for the fans and the young supporters. I think it's tremendous.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining James and I, and we'll be in touch, and we wish you the best of luck in your first season.
Available. Let Cole know. It'd be good to talk to you.
Great. Thanks.